ladies and gentlemen, may we present the magnificent Madam Rena.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hello, George. You're looking absolutely fantastic. How do you manage it? Oh, hello, Cleo. You're here to steal my originals again, aren't you, darling? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome. Today I have for your perusal, and I'm quite sure your approval, one of my most fantastic original collections. And I choose to call it Sapphires and Sisters. We're all familiar with the joy of sex, particularly since that doctor has determined that the sex is on the male's mind every other minute, and on the female mind every other second. Well, I've put it all together in one group, which I call the Four Seasons of S-E-X.
Not exactly subtle, is she?
She never was, even when I was modeling for her.
Hello, my fellow scallywag scoundrels and fellow pop culture nerds. Bart here with Tully Television. I want to thank all of you for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing all that beautiful YouTube stuff. Today we're going to be doing a Retro Blast. If you're unfamiliar with what our Retro Blast is, it's a playlist we do here that reviews movies 10 years or older, has a significant hold in the pop culture world, or is just remembered very fondly and can be viewed as an underrated movie. And that movie today is Friday Foster, starring Pam Grier. It was directed by Arthur Marks, written by Orville Hampton and Arthur Marks as well. And as I said, it stars Pam Grier as Friday Foster, Yaphet Kotto as Colt Hawkins, Godfrey Cambridge as Ford Mileto, Thalmus Usala, I know I mispronounced that last name, I'm sorry, as Blake Tarr, Scatman Crothers as Noble Franklin, Carl Weathers as Yabro, Eartha Kitt, Eartha Kitt as Madam Rena. The music was done by Luchi de Jesus, and the Foster, I keep wanting to say Foster Friday. Friday Foster was initially, and this is where it lines up into our part of the world, was initially a comic strip created by Jim Lawrence that ran from January 18th, 1970 to February 17th, 1974. Now, this movie covers the life of Friday, who is a photographer who lives in Harlem with her younger brother for a newspaper. On New Year's Eve, she was asked to go to the airport to take some pictures of this millionaire by the name of Blake Tarr. When before we see her arriving to where the plane is going to be at, we see Carl Weathers and a couple other people getting ready to set up to take him out. And when he arrives there at the airport, at the landing strip there, and she's going to take some pictures to show that he's back home, so to speak, in New York, the attempt on his life was made, and Friday inadvertently came upon the story of her life. Eventually, Blake was able to get away. She was able to get these pictures developed and discovered that Yabro, Carl Weathers' character, came out pretty clear on the pictures. And they also had crossed paths as he was trying to escape the airport. So what he's trying to do now is stalk Friday to take her out so she can't testify about what she's seen. Then it leads into who is behind the assassination attempt, and it leads into some possible red herrings on who's behind it, or possible members of this cover-up. Yabit Koto, or Colt, is like her main partner. He's a private investigator in this movie, and he kind of helps her along the way investigating this case. I think one of the funny things in this movie is that Friday don't give a fuck, right? This again, when people say there's no feminist movies are ever out or anything like that, this movie, even though it's considered a black exploitation movie, because it's kind of got some over the top shenanigans going on here and there throughout the, here and there in the movie. Maybe a little overacting, maybe not the best editing, exactly, but the aesthetic and the pacing and just the feel good feelings you get from this movie makes up for it, definitely. The acting, I thought, in an overall sense, was great. Eartha Kitt didn't get much screen time in this, but she, played a pivotal role in this by helping Friday kind of hone in on who she needs to find. Friday's motivation also comes from her friend passing away during a fashion show, because the friend was actually dating one of the assassins unbeknownst to the friend. She initially was wrapped up with this guy because he had some connections in Washington, D.C. It seems like they were moving some product called Black Widow, and Friday also came across that information. So basically, there's this senator, no, not senator, eventually Blake Tar and Friday meet because Eartha Kitt's character, Madame Rena, was working with him to try to figure out who was behind these attacks, and her and him wound up teaming up. They wound up getting it in, you know what I mean? And that's one of my favorite, not that that's my favorite part of the movie. It doesn't hurt, but you know what I mean. That's not exactly why it was whatever. This was a movie to show that she was a upstanding citizen. She was raising her brother. She's working a great job. She don't need no man's telling her what to do, but she chooses to share herself with a man because, she knows when to allow herself to be taken care of instead of always being their care provider. She allowed herself to be taken care of near the end. Finally, there's this clue that they come across her and Colt about the walls of Jericho crumbling, and why this stands out to her is because when she met Noble Franklin, the character played by Scatman Carruthers, he runs this retreat called Jericho. So finally, near the end of the movie, she steals this milk truck and makes it to the Jericho compound, thinking that the senator that her friend knew was behind this whole thing, and that's not really the case. They were there at the compound to bring together black leaders to start working together, because they needed to work together. They wind up finding out that the congressman's assistant was behind this whole thing. he was using his position of power as this congressman's assistant to, set out the assassination to be taking care of the Black Widow. We also get Colt Hawkins versus Carl Weathers versus Yabit Koto, and Carl Weathers winds up biting the big one at the near the end of the movie too. I really was unaware of this movie. This seemed to be one of Pam Grier's last blaxploitation movies. She didn't really have to expose her body too much in this. She was more in control of her career at this time. And she seemed to really enjoy doing this part. She seemed to have put a lot of effort into this. And I always figured that Pam Grier is a legend, man. She starred in some great movies. Her charisma always shone through. And I think that this is a great movie to catch up on if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you were like me and never seen this movie. I have to thank Jordan for sending me a clip of this, because I had no idea who Friday Foster was as a character in regards to any comic strips. And I think I'm going to check some of those out on the internet. And I could have really see this having a sequel maybe, or a show attached to it. But no, it was a one and done movie for the character. And I can kind of maybe see this character being revisited today in some sort of... It's a refreshing comic book movie that doesn't revolve around superheroes, supervillains, with grand maclamations of grandeur in any sort of way. It's very street level, very gritty, very ugly, part of life. Not saying colorful villains taking over the world isn't ugly, but these type of shows, these type of movies are a little bit more relatable, and you can really see government officials being behind things like drug dealing and murder and assassination. And to have a black female lead that was strong and independent and was able to use her brains to solve this crime, so to speak, this ring of power, was very refreshing. And it's a movie that came out in 1975. So I really beg you to point out any flaws in my view of her being a feminist. You know what I mean? Like being a true woman that is in control of her own life. You know what I mean? And not relying on men to get her to be she's not a Mary Sue. She gets people pissed off at her. She makes mistakes, but she's determined to save the day. And I think that's, this was just a great character, great movie. And Pam Grier really did a phenomenal job in this movie. The music is cool too. They have a little theme song of her. What you gonna do Friday? It's a fun movie, and I hope that you guys can definitely take the time and check it out. That's my review of Friday Foster. You let me know down below if you've ever seen this movie. Do you think I'm just bugging about my review of this movie or what? You let me know, guys. You smash that like button all down there and everything, you know what I mean? You subscribe, all that. But until next time, peace, Snookums.